The only problem with Santino and Andy is this podcast. Well, hello and welcome back to your favorite movie podcast. My name is Andy Matsky, and I'm joined by my friend and fellow conspirator, Santino Vitale.
What's our conspiracy?
Oh, don't worry about it. We can't talk about it because if then
Yeah, but I
then it'd
need
be.
reminding. Sometimes.
I'll remind you off air about our plan.
Oh, right. The
Yeah,
plan.
the plan. So
Mhm.
yeah, this is a podcast about movies,
Yes, it is.
where we talk about movies because we both like movies. We've both been involved with making movies. You much more so than me. Santino knows what he's talking about, folks. Ladies at home, ladies and gentlemen at home. Santino knows his stuff. Me, on the other hand, I just kind of make stuff up as I go. So if that sounds like what you're down for, then stick around and
Mhm.
enjoy listening to The Only Problem on your morning drive to work
Or other commutes
or
at
other commutes.
midnight, at 3 in the morning, if you're working afternoons. I used to work afternoons a lot. That was my
Really?
primary shift. Yeah, for 7 years was afternoons. So I
Dang.
would I would come in usually 1 to 9, 2 to 9, sometimes 12 to 8 was a really awful shift, and
And
10 to 6 or 11 to 7 were really awful shifts because it was
and
like your entire day was gone.
what type of like long-term health and well-being repercussions do you think that's left you with?
Um, I don't know about any repercussions. I think mo mostly I would just say that it just prevented me from being a morning person because for
Mm,
7 years there was really no point in getting up early because at some point you'd have to go to work. So it's like, well, might as well just sleep
wow.
until 11 and then get up, eat dinner for breakfast, and then go to work. So my diet was reversed for a while. I ate dinner when I woke up, then I would eat lunch, and then I would
What do you
eat
mean
breakfast at
ate
night.
dinner? Like dinner food?
Yeah, I'd wake up at like 11 or 11:30. If I had to be to work at 1, I would have like steak and whatever, like potatoes, like fish, whatever your dinner meal would be. I would eat that at like noon.
Mm.
And then I would have lunch at about 4 or 5, and then I would have breakfast when I came home.
Are you meals are time-based person or meals are occasion-based or I guess what the food is. See, like, and here's let me explain. There's people who be like, well, I'm gonna go have lunch and it'll be like 4 p.m. and it's because it's their second meal of the day.
Mhm.
Or is this like strictly or like is it like breakfast is from 6 to not like 10? Like what are you like if
I'm
you're
like I'm
referring to
like
a meal?
McDonald's. Like
Okay,
after a certain window of time, we're no longer serving breakfast, and I'm going to eat something else. Like
that
if
makes
I wake
sense.
up past 11, like today, I did not sleep well at all the night before, and so I tried to get up early, and I was stuck. I could not wake up, and so I woke up late, and so I ate, and then I immediately like went into lunch not long after that. Like I try to like go.
Yeah.
Sometimes if I get up real late, I'll just eat lunch, and then I'll eat dinner, and it'll just be those two meals for the day. But there is definitely a cutoff,
Yeah.
and for
That's
the
what
longest time, it was reverse. It was dinner first, then lunch, then breakfast.
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, there's your little insight into Santino's life that you may have never thought you needed
That they
until
never
you had it.
wanted, but I forced it on them anyway.
Yep. Just as we do every week here. This week on the show, we are talking about the 2021 Paul Thomas Anderson film
Hmm.
Licorice Pizza, which I had never seen before. Santino recommended it to me, and you know, I was ready to watch it. I was just about to like go into how I felt about the movie immediately, and I don't really know why. Um, I'm excited to talk about this movie this week. Uh, this I'll kind of show part of my hand now and
Hmm.
say, as we do this show, the more we do this show, the less I kind of feel qualified to do it because I because I keep watching movies that I'm like, wow, I can't believe I didn't quite like. that I had the sensibilities about certain movies that I did, but I hadn't seen this. And that kind of that shows you some of where we're gonna go, I think, this week. But that counts for this week too, where it's just like, huh. Here I have been thinking this whole time, it's just me. But here we are, like it's this whole thing. So
well, this is your first Paul Thomas Anderson movie.
yes, it is.
And I'll preface our discussion today with this little tidbit, which is I would dare say that most PTA, which not public, that's not
Teacher
public,
Association?
PDA is public display of affection. PTA, Paul Thomas Anderson, the most Paul Thomas Anderson fans would probably discourage one from having this as their first experience, like their first exposure to him. A lot of Paul Thomas Anderson fans, I think, consider this his worst movie. I've seen not his entire catalog, but I've seen enough of it to tell you this is certainly not his worst movie. There is a worse movie, and I refuse to watch it ever again. And that was Inherent Vice from 2014, and that movie sucked. It was terrible. But this movie is probably not the movie most people would recommend showing someone for the first time and be like, this is Paul Thomas Anderson. However, I would disagree. I'm gonna wrap it up, which is this. I think this is the perfect movie to start somebody out on Paul Thomas Anderson because it shows both his greatest strengths and his greatest weaknesses all in one movie. I'm just going to leave it right there.
Well, like what's really interesting is, okay, to also further along my point, because I did have more than just like, because I'm seeing things that I liked that I didn't. I think my sensibilities are being more like what I like in a movie is being shown to me more. And I think what's so funny to me is like every time it's like this divisive movie in a director's filmography, which granted, like I may not have the perspective for. This happened with White Noise. It's happening with this. Every time it's one of those, I'm like, I think it's pretty good. like, well, I don't know, maybe. And this is kind of like, or even with like when we cover some Godzilla, the Godzilla stuff we've covered, it's like, well, I think those are pretty good.
Maybe you're just a divisive guy, Andy.
Maybe
you're just
I just
drawn to controversy.
Yeah, maybe I am. Maybe I'm just polemic and I'm just trying to get everybody against each other all the time. Maybe that's my secret. Maybe that's what this whole show's about. It's just trying to cause more division.
To just create as much offense as possible
in
a 1 hour time period.
Yeah. In a roughly hour and 5 minutes. But yeah, I had never seen a Paul Thomas Anderson film. And what's interesting, and I want folks at home to also know, is I think pretty darn sure I didn't sit down and graph this out, but I think this is the film that I knew the most about going into, because
I think I told you a decent amount about it.
You've told me a lot about this movie. And so
it's a shame, kind of. I kind of wish I told you less, but
I think what I remembered, it didn't, like, I think I knew enough about the rough plot. It didn't ruin it for sure. And the moments that I stood out that from when you told me were almost even better in the movie.
Okay.
And we can build on that as we go. So do you want to tell the folks at home what this movie's about?
Yeah, this will actually be our simplest synopsis.
Yep.
It's about a 15-year-old guy who meets a 25-year-old woman during picture day in the 1970s. And he hits on her, and she kind of humors him and decides to go out with him. But then they actually kind of get along pretty well. And so there's just this whole like, will they or won't they, over the course of like a year or so. And then just weird stuff happens. It's just like the 70s. It's really kind of a slice of life, and it's just them doing weird adventures. And
yeah, it's like, it's very, and I'm stealing this word from somewhere else. I think it might be the video you sent me about this. It's very episodic.
Yes.
It's like this stuff happens, and then who knows how much time passes, and then this happens, and then so yeah, it's a very episodic film. I think immediately out the gate, this film, with just even like talking about the synopsis, like what this movie is at from 30,000 feet, you either have to be in or you're not going to enjoy this movie.
Right.
Which is like, it's a little weird to say, right? Because the plot is kind of like, huh, and it never defends itself. It never really wins you over except by these characters kind of this will they, won't they, imperfect people being selfish and not really knowing what they want from life. Like the movie doesn't do anything to win you over to like, well, it's fine
Hmm.
because this, right? So if you're like uncomfortable or like off put severely by a 15-year-old guy having this crush on a like 20 something year old woman,
Hmm.
and then she kind of goes along with it, like that's the, hey, we talk about it with sci-fi, but with this
Hmm.
film, that's the buy-in. If
Right.
you're not buying in there, then don't watch this movie. And I'd say like what the movie does well, or like the way it kind of does this, is the fact it immediately opens and it's them meeting each other.
Yeah.
And it's literally, we get like opening credits, like opening credit,
Hmm.
a shot of like them combing their hair, and then we're behind Alana. So the
Hmm.
the main female lead is Alana
Heim.
Haim. It is Haim.
Hmm.
Alana Haim, and we're behind her, and she's like working, and there's like we're establishing shot, and then we're into them
Yeah,
meeting
it's
each
all a
other.
oneer. The entire first shot is like 3, 4 minutes of
Well,
just
it's like four shots. It's like it's
when we're following
one.
her, it's a oneer.
It's
And
not. It's.
it's
I mean, I
it
what
stays a oneer until they enter the building and then it cuts.
it's one shot, and then it's reverse, and then it's them walking in the building, and then that's it.
Right.
It's like
But
three or four shots.
that
I
second
watched
shot
this.
is like a oneer. It's like 2, 3
Yeah,
minutes. Yeah, it goes on.
yeah. Well, and it's okay. So here I'll show you something. I
Hmm.
watched the opening of this movie twice right away
Okay.
because one, I was in a slightly different TV setup that I
Hmm.
needed to dial in some stuff. So I was distracted. And I knew I was distracted when I realized like I didn't know how he knew her name. And I was like,
Right.
okay, what's going on? But this is really interesting. And then it was in there that I was like, oh my gosh, this is like, it is, they meet and it's one shot. There's a cut in the middle of that. And then it's this oneer through the gymnasium.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh dang, that's really cool. And we get like some great lines from when they meet each other, which are like, allow me to pull up my notes. But like, so this 15-year-old kid, Gary,
Hmm.
right? Gary Valentine
As played by Cooper Hoffman, son of the late Philip Seymour Hoffman.
is saying great lines like, I want you to have dinner with me, not my work, because he's an actor and he's
Yeah.
trying to get Alana to go to dinner with him. And then the other thing that I thought was so funny is don't call it a date. She's like, I can't go out on a date with you. He's like, don't
Mhm.
call it a date. It's not a date. Just say hello. Just come say hi. Like
Right.
that's
He's very
that.
persuasive.
Yeah, he's a very persuasive guy. So yeah, and I rewatched this opening scene of them two talking and him kind of like winning her over from
Mhm.
like gross to then like maybe,
Yeah, I think it's
which
at the
is
moment when he's like, "You say everything twice," and she's like, What do you mean say everything twice? What does this say everything twice?" Like at
yeah.
that moment, you're like, "I feel like she's more in now than she wasn't, a minute ago."
Yeah. So they meet each other on picture day. And then because he invites her to dinner, because he
Hmm.
always goes to, where's he always go to dinner?
Tail of the Cock.
Yeah,
It's
Tail
it's
of the
an
Cock.
old restaurant that no longer exists in the San Fernando Valley. They recreated it for the movie.
Yeah. And she stops by.
Yeah,
And the movie kind of goes from,
it
they
just
go on
goes.
this like not date from there. So
Hmm.
like,
He's very professional about it. He's like, "What are your plans?"
yeah.
It's a great first date because like she shows up, she sits next to him, he's waiting for her at the bar, and he's just staring at her. And we're in that shot for a long time, and she's just staring ahead and keeps kind of looking at him side eye, and she's like, "Stop." Like what? She's like,
Yeah.
"Stop, you're just being creepy." And she's like, "Stop." He's like, "What?" She's like, "Breathing." He's like, "You want me to stop breathing?" She's like, "Yeah." There's a lot of great dialogue like that.
Yeah.
Great character moments.
Yeah, this movie is like it's all character moments and like this really interesting will they won't they between two like unlikely people. And it is this
Mm-hmm.
like love letter to 70s California.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And I don't
nostalgia
know.
is very it's soaked, it's drenched in nostalgia.
Yeah.
This movie is more than anything a vibe, and then a character piece, and then very loosely connected vignettes with no plot to really, there's really no motor to it other than will they or won't they. That's about all you get.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean that's it. That's what you got. So how were you introduced to this film? How'd you come across this? I forget how you.
Um, Actually, that's a good question. So it came out in 21. I remember seeing the trailer for it, and I'm a sucker for anything 70s. I'm not generally a Paul Thomas Anderson fan. I'm going to say that right out of the gate. I've seen enough of his work that I'm like, he does a lot of things that I'm not a huge fan of. But I was like, it looks good. I knew it was the Haim sisters, so I'm like, I'm a fan of their music. It looks like an interesting idea. I'll check it out. And so I think we just rented it because it came to the theater, but it tanked, and there was still COVID was still kind of going on. Nobody was really going to the theater. 70s is a period that just for whatever reason refuses to do well at the box office. So I think we waited for it to come on VOD or something. We rented it, and I watched it for the first time then, and then I watched it for the second time about 8 weeks ago. So it's a movie that after I watched it, it stuck with me. And I'm gonna also say this, we can expand on this later, but it's the kind of movie, and you'll see why I think these things, but it's the kind of movie for me personally that I tend to remember it more fondly in my mind than when I'm watching it. Like in my mind, the movie I would rate it higher than when I'm actually watching it. Again, I'm kind of giving away a lot there, but I thought, well, it's been long enough. I want to see it again. So I watched it again a few weeks ago, and then I was like, I think Andy needs to see this. Not because it's a perfect movie, but because I was like, I feel like if anybody out of my friend group was going to be a Paul Thomas Anderson fan, it would probably be you even more than myself. So I
Interesting.
wanted to use that as an experiment to kind of start us with this.
Yeah, I mean, what this movie is, and I debated saying this on the podcast or not because I was thinking about this a lot, watching it and afterwards. This movie, and I know by no means want to claim to be smart when I say this, but this movie feels like a movie I would have written while I was in high school.
Hmm.
And that's like part of what I was saying earlier is like I feel, and granted, this movie came out the year I graduated from high school.
Mm.
And I don't know when in that year, but I presume after I graduated high school. But this movie feels like sophomore year, the like movies I was working up in my head. Now, would I
Mm.
have thought of Age Gap Autumn or whatever? No. But like the kind of it's just kind of like you're in this, you said it, like you're in this vibe,
Hmm.
and then there's these characters, and any sort of plot kind of comes after.
Hmm.
And that's not to say this film is like bad, because that could be it, but it's this weird capturing of adolescence,
Hmm.
but it's also just like it's shot really well. I think this
Hmm.
helps this film. It kind of its look is on point. And I don't know, like there's something about that that's it's just fun watching a movie and being able to connect. Even like I have no nostalgia for this, like, myself for the 70s
Hmm.
and California or any of that. It's like this is a very like I don't know, the will they won't they works so well, I think, as an episodic device.
Hmm.
I mean, the show Cheers is evidence to that, right? I mean, the
Right.
characters are great. It's a sitcom, but it's this will they won't they that kind of keeps at least the early part of that show going. And so I don't know. It's so interesting to me watching this and being like, this captures something really well. Whether it I mean, it's not, and that thing's not this grand, like profound, world shifting thing, but it captures something that's very nostalgic and very, you know, very teenage in a
Hmm.
way.
Well, I know, and part of that is I remember I've read very little from the director. I've read stuff about the movie and about the making of the movie, but I've read very little from, the director's own statements. Um, but I know that the genesis of the idea was that Paul Thomas Anderson had, I don't know if it was when he was location scouting or doing something at another time, years before this movie. He apparently got inspiration for it because he saw like a picture day where there was some kid like hitting on this older girl who was clearly way too old for him, but like she was like a camera assistant or something. And he thought, oh, that's funny. What if like he actually pursued it though? And what if it might work out? Like he's kind of writing it from the fantasy perspective of that. And that's a really interesting idea. And I know that there were a lot of few people that got their panties all in a wad when this movie came out because, Hollywood promotes pedophilia. And let's just get our cards on the table. It does. There are definitely movies in Hollywood that promote this type of thing. I don't know if this is exactly that one though. A lot of people
If
were.
like Hollywood's pushing an agenda, this
Mhm.
is not necessarily, I don't think they would have done it through
I don't
this
think this
Paul
is the way.
Thomas Anderson film.
No, no. And like you said, the film never really defends it or vilifies it. It's just kind of like this is a thing that's happening. And you're kind of like,
Yeah,
okay. Like a lot of people liken this to the inverse Lolita, and I'm like, not really,
I don't know
because
what that is.
Lolita's about it was a book originally about an old pedophile who has a relationship with a very young girl, and he's just this weird
Uh,
old pervert. The thing is, when you reverse the roles, it's it's different. It just is. Like, I don't know how else to really phrase this. You still have a gap, but when the guy is the younger and the guy's, 15 or 16, which face it, at that point, it's not like you're a little kid who can really be taken advantage of. You're Gary's
I'm not
character.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm just
Yeah, Gary's
talking.
character and the whole point of this is that Gary's character is way more mature for his age. And while Alana is 10 years his senior, she's more immature for her age. And every guy that she tries to date who's her age or older is more of a child than Gary. And that's like the joke. It's not like, oh, this could actually work in real life. It's not, hey, 25-year-old
Like
girls, you should go like,
she clearly doesn't have her act together. That's kind of
no,
the point of the
that's
first
the whole
date is
point.
her being like, I don't know what I want to do.
Exactly. And there's no message to the movie. It's not like, hey, you older women, go after underage boys. Like that's not the point. And let's also,
Imagine watching this movie and thinking that.
yeah. Like I don't understand really why a small percentage of people got steamed by this. I don't really get it. I think that it plays it fairly innocently. Fairly. They never sleep together. Like I think it's just
There's parts of it that are weird, but even those parts I think are like immature, and that's what
yeah.
it is. And
And
I
it's
don't,
played for comedy too. Like, let's also be clear, this is a comedy movie. This
yeah.
is not like a drama necessarily. This is not a crime thriller. This is first and foremost like a comedy coming of age movie. And coming of age movies always deal with these kind of themes of like you're trying to be more of an adult than you actually are. I don't know. I don't get the mild, very minor outrage. There was a minor portion of the population that saw this movie that were outraged, and I don't really get it. I'm not saying that like this is the way
I'm
a
not,
relationship should go, but at the same time, like I don't see the outrage. There were worse things in other tales. I think this is mostly a comedy, a coming of age, and even somewhat of a fantasy, because the idea that that could ever work is kind of also crazy, which is
yeah.
all romantic comedies are kind of like that. And again, to that note, I think, and this was like the one thing I told you last week when I queued this movie up was like there is a passage of time. It's unclear exactly how long it is, but in order to do some of the things they're doing, at least a year has passed. So if he met her at 15, he's at least 16 by the end of it, maybe even 17. So
Yeah.
again, not saying like that makes it all okay, but like at the same time, that's not really the point of the movie. The
Yeah.
movie's never explicit about these things, and it's never really meant to bring you down or have big conversations about these things. It's more just, oh, hey, what if like there was this really mature for his age guy who hit on this girl who wasn't mature, and let's just see what happened
And
in the
she had
70s.
nothing else going on, so she goes along with it. Like
Yeah,
that is like such a
that's funny.
that is funny. Yeah. Okay. So I don't even know how we want to do this because the last time we did play by play, our
Mhm.
episode was 2 hours long. And I mean,
Yeah.
I'll get it out of the way. I like this movie,
Hmm.
so I won't be upset if we talk about it for a while. But I don't. I want you to take point. Do you want to kind of like guide us through this thing? Do you want? How do you want to do this?
I mean, I feel like play by play is easier in a movie that's more plot driven. With this one, it's a little difficult keeping the certain order of things together, and everything's so episodic, it kind of doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So I figure we could go just from the beginning down, but I mean, it's going to be fairly loose, and we're going to have a lot more to say about certain scenes than others. So I figured we'd probably hit like the plot in general and then the greatest hits,
Okay. I'm
like
down. I'm down.
something like that.
Um. So
They go on a date.
they go on this date,
Hmm.
and then it goes pretty well.
Goes okay.
Yeah, it goes okay, and they're walking away from the date, and
Hmm.
he gets her phone number. Well, he asked for her phone number.
Hmm.
She's like, "How are you going to remember it?" And he remembers it,
Hmm.
and or like she tells him, then which is like I don't know. That's part of the movie where it's like, wow, we are doing like we're doing this, and we're kind of doing this like right away.
Hmm.
Where it's like she's like, "Sure, here's your number."
Just don't call me all the time.
Yeah. And then she goes home and her dad's outside playing basketball
Mhm.
with the basketball. And she's like, and he's like, hey, which by the way, her real life dad, right? As
Yeah.
you know, but like as the audience at home,
Her entire
Alana,
family is played by her entire family.
yeah, that which is incredible. That's so fun. And her dad is like, hey, where were you? Hey, what's going on? Like, it's like, I told you. It's with Lisa. And he's like, Lisa, who the frick is Lisa? What? And like the what at the end of that too is like because she like starts explaining, then he's just like, huh? What? Huh? He's all worked up. It's so great. And then we have that moment where like one of her sisters like opens the door and is like, were you on a date? Where were you? Leave me alone.
Oh yeah, that was Esty. I think Esty's like,
Yeah.
hey, what was going on? It's pretty good. Oh yeah, because she's all dressed up. Like you wouldn't just dress up like that to go out with Lisa for like a drink. Like that's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
So
Um, yeah, it's pretty great. Okay. I know we are saying general plot and then greatest hits, but then next is Jerry Frick,
yeah.
which is probably the thing I knew the most about going into this movie, and my expectations were just exceeded.
Oh,
Uh,
really?
I think I don't
I
know.
love
It's
it.
just so weird and perfect. So Jerry Frick is this restaurant owner, and he which the name of the guy is Jerry Frick,
Yeah,
Gerald
that's his
Frick
name.
in the movie, and he's married to this Japanese woman,
Miyoko.
Miyoko,
Mhm.
and apparently Gary, our main character,
Mhm.
actually does own this PR company.
That his mom works for him, which is
Yeah,
great.
his mom works for him at his PR company, and so we're introduced to Jerry Frick in the scene where Gary's mom is reading like this like ad for Jerry's Japanese restaurant, and
Mhm.
he's sitting there with his wife, and Jerry asks his wife Miyoko, this
Mhm.
Japanese lady, like like it's implied like, well, okay, I like the ad. Let me ask my wife what she
Mhm.
thinks. And then in like a Japanese accent, he
Oh, Miyoko, what you think of this?
that's what he does.
What
Guys,
you
that's
think
what
of
the movie
ad for newspaper? And she responds in Japanese.
and she responds in Japanese, and then the
He's
scene
like,
kind of like,
Mhm.
yep.
And he's like, I think she's concerned that the cuisine isn't mentioned. They're like, oh, okay, we'll fix that. And he's like, great.
And it's like, well, that's in there, but
Yeah.
yeah,
We'll add that, but we'll take something else out. Like we only have there's a word count.
yeah.
And he's like, yeah, let's do that. That sounds good.
Which that's so funny.
It
And
comes
then
out of left field too, because we just kind of happen upon that scene already in progress.
And we were talking about this. The movie's a comedy, so it's all played like kind of for teehee, like
Mhm.
moments, and then that's your first like, wait, what is going on moment.
First of many moments that
Yeah.
do that. Yeah.
So Jerry Frick's great. Jerry Frick comes back later. Okay, we'll say it now. Jerry Frick comes back later in the movie with a different Japanese
Yeah.
wife.
This is my new wife, Kamiko.
Yeah, Kamiko
Mhm.
also doesn't speak English, and he also speaks to her in the same way. And it's in that scene that we learned that Jerry Frick actually doesn't know Japanese at all.
What you think of waterbed? And then she starts telling him stuff, and Alana's like, what she's saying is like, hard to tell. I don't really speak Japanese. She's like, well, what is going on then? How has any of this happened? How are you even married to these women if you don't speak Japanese?
Yeah, that's so great. So then, yeah, so the general plot is like, and see, this is hard because it's like
Mhm.
on Gary needs a chaperone to New York. And so then
Yeah,
he
to promote
takes,
a movie he's been in
yeah, so
with
he
Lucille
takes
Ball.
Alana with him.
Yeah, because his mom can't make it, so
He
Alana's his
needs his,
chaperone.
which that's interesting. And that's kind of, I think, for like the point of the plot, that's kind of where we're introduced to like, well, these two are kind of like friends, buddies, and then like somebody else will come into the picture. And
Mhm.
this time it's like one of Gary's actor friends,
Lance.
Lance. Lance comes in
Mhm.
and like kind of steals Alana away. And so it's like this whole thing of this movie of like they're friends, and then there'll be like somebody else who gets in the way for a little bit, and then that guy's just kind of, or girl, just kind of an idiot, or kind of just goes away. With a lot of like Gary's love interests, they kind of just disappear.
Yeah. Well, they're teenage girls. That's kind of what they do. They're just there for a second and then it's like squirrel and then they're gone.
Yeah. And so that's like this thing, but then like the whole time they kind of are still like friends, Gary and Alana,
Hmm.
but then they're like mad at each other, or like one of them's mad at the other. It's very interesting.
Yeah, there's a constant push-pull between the characters. And this is a thing that Paul Thomas Anderson actually does in a lot of his movies, is he examines power dynamics, usually with much more deadly consequences. But in this case, it's much more innocent and it's a romance. So it's interesting because you took the person who, in a romantic comedy, normally they're on equal footing, right? Like, she's a no-nonsense attorney, but she never has time for her life. He's a go-getter businessman, but he doesn't know what love is. They start out hating each other, but then they learn to get along. Like, it's that thing, right? And it's usually all the honeymoon phase. And in this movie, it's like there is no honeymoon phase because they can't actually be together. So they just kind of end up in each other's orbit. But then she's older than him, so she has the seniority, but he's more powerful than her. He still has all the power in the relationship to a point because like he has businesses and his life is kind of together, and he's still more mature than every other guy she meets. But she's still older and can drive. So it's kind of like there's just this weird like back and forth where they keep pushing and pulling each other toward each other's selfish want.
Well, there's something
And it's fun.
so interesting about, and you touched on it, this like they can't be together
Right.
thing that goes on, where it's like something's keeping that, like you can do that with stories where something's keeping them apart, but like with this case, it's like literally this weird age gap thing that's going on. And that's so it's so interesting and like so effective that this like, well, they can't do anything, but also they're growing closer and who knows. So it's
Right.
like,
It's actually it's interesting because it's a romantic comedy that subverts all those expectations. And it's a romantic comedy where the romance pretty much goes on the back burner and it shows you like a good friendship kind of that's built. Like it's not a perfect friendship, but
yeah.
there's clearly a compatibility and a care for the other person that builds first. And you're kind of like, well, that's a very unorthodox thing to do in a romantic comedy because normally it's just all fireworks and romance. And here it's like, well, we literally can't do that. So it's just like watching two people grow together.
And they do that, but by like becoming, so at the beginning of the movie,
They're very adversarial at times too.
Lance is in the picture, but then
Hmm.
Lance is out of the picture
Well,
because
after she brings him over.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's an atheist.
Hmm. Yeah,
He
she brings
can't.
him over for Shabbat or something,
Yeah,
and he's an atheist and like gets kicked out, and she goes and screams at everybody.
dude. Yes, her screaming at everybody is great. She yells. I think it's at Esty about being a
Yeah,
thinker,
yeah.
and that is
You
some of my
think
favorite.
things.
You, you thinker. You think things. I know you were thinking things. Like
Hmm.
that's just so. I love that.
I work for mom and dad. I'm in whatever real estate. She's
Yeah,
like,
I'm a
I,
real
I
estate.
can't do, I can do no wrong. Alana brings stupid boys over. And she's like, well, and she's like, I knew it. You think things. You thinker, you're always thinking things.
Yeah, I was telling
Great.
somebody about that line today, where I was like, "That's just great," and I think I'm gonna start yelling at people.
So yeah, so then Lance kind of is gone.
Yeah, Lance is gone, but then they have this like that scene on the phone where he calls her and is like, "Hey," but then they don't say anything. Then he hangs up, and then she calls him, and they don't say anything.
Yeah. Really long scene.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna, this will be for a little bit later, but like that's one of the, when we say the only problem, to me, the only problem is like we needed some editing in this movie. It's
yeah.
good, but there's some moments where like we just hold on kind of nothing happening. And I'm like, can we do anything other
I
than just
think the
hold,
other big moment
we're
that's
burning
like
film.
that is the well, that's like they shot on film and they were gonna use it. Darn
Yeah.
it.
Hmm.
um, the other moment like that, and this is really getting out of ourselves, and I think it's a great scene, so don't get me wrong, but the the truck coasting
Yeah.
scene
That goes on for a while.
is so long.
Hmm.
It's great, but
Hmm.
that whole episode is like,
At
oh
the
wow.
jail. We're
Yeah,
there for a long time, just waiting for him literally to leave the building.
yeah.
We're just anyway, we're ahead of ourselves, but that's one of the only problem here is just that there was some editing that needs
This
to happen.
movie's long, and I'll say like we get like an hour into this movie, and I
Hmm.
was like, oh my gosh, it's only been an hour,
Yeah.
and I have another hour. I'm
Mhm.
enjoying myself. Like, yay, I get to spend another hour here. But you're telling me this is halfway through the
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
I forget what made me like check my clock, but I was like,
You can feel
oh
it.
wow,
Hmm.
wow.
Yeah, you can definitely
Sure.
feel it. So yeah, Lance is gone, and then the heck
Water
happens after
bets?
that? No, it's I think what's been happening, and this took me until the second time I watched it to put it together. Gary is a child actor, but it's implied that he's getting too old now because he's going to auditions, but he's not really
The movie
landing
says
anything.
it. I think, well, without being exposition, the movie,
Yeah,
you're right. It implies
it
it, but
implies it pretty heavily, but like on first watch, I don't think I picked up on it exactly because things are just so episodic. I'm like, I don't know what we're doing. Um, so he is wandering and comes across a waterbed in a storefront, and Leonardo DiCaprio's dad sells him on this waterbed, which is a super weird
that whole
cameo.
scene is like a super weird scene.
It's a weird scene, yeah. It's a very sensual scene, and there's really no reason for it. You're just kind of like, all right. Um, so yeah, so then he goes to the teenage fair, and they're going to try to sell waterbeds, and that's that whole thing. Which then he gets arrested.
And that's where him and Alana like
Oh yeah, they
reconverge
reconnect,
because
right?
they had this weird quasi we need a break
Hmm.
phone call where they didn't say anything. And then they reconnect and he like immediately gets arrested
For murder.
for murder. But
Yeah.
she like chases after the cop car. This
Hmm.
movie has a lot of running in it.
There's a lot of running.
A lot of running.
There's a whole other
And this
joke
is where we
about
get
that. Yeah.
and this is where we get what's the other joke about that?
That I was gonna say within like the only problem idea, it's like the only problem is this movie needs a trim, and there's so much running where I think PTA might have been a bit stoned and thought this will be really poignant, and it's not. You're just watching people run.
I don't know. I kind of dug part like I dug it most of the time.
Okay.
But it was kind of like, oh, we're running again. Is
Yeah, we're
kind of
running.
what it was.
A
And
lot
maybe
of
on
running.
rewatches, it'll just be like, and okay, yeah,
It
running. So I don't know.
was more running than I wanted. Let's just put it that way. Like some of the running works, but there's a lot more than my
I think
taste.
that's something a movie can do that, in my mind, frequently works a lot, even if like it doesn't work for the genre. You might think of that as like an action movie thing, but
Hmm.
doing like an action movie run
Hmm.
is like, no, this gives like dynamic to the movie, I think. And that's kind of sounding
Andy likes running, guys.
I like
Andy
running in
he just
movies.
likes to watch Tom Cruise's little legs go up and down.
I like watching people go, I need to see them right now, and then run. Like
Yeah,
our
it's a romantic
our
idea.
our bits about running
Oh
that
yeah,
are
it's
off
all
air
running.
are it's like
Mhm.
it's running, and it's because if you do like a dolly, if you're around a dolly and they're running, it's
Mhm.
cool.
I
It's kind
think
of as simple as, I mean, I did my fancy like dynamics of the blah, blah, blah,
right.
but like it's cool.
It is.
It can work. Like in the scene when she falls off the motorcycle and he goes
Mhm.
running,
Yeah.
cool.
I think to me, like I said,
What
the
do you think he
running's
would have
fine.
walked? You think he would
No.
have walked?
I think the running's fine. I think for me it was a little more running than I wanted, and to me running is always more funny than it is dramatic. So when I
At
see
least there
running, I'm
wasn't.
just kind of like, heh.
At least it wasn't like whap 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 whap. I don't know if you can even hear my
I can
running
hear
up the
that.
hill. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah, at least there wasn't running up that hill. Yeah, there's not actually, you know what? That you bring up an interesting point. There's still not as much running as there was in Stranger Things the last season. There was a lot of running around in the
Yeah.
last couple seasons of Stranger Things. So she runs after him, gets to the police station. He's obviously not guilty of murder. They got the wrong guy, so they release him, and he takes forever to leave. And then they hug for a really
But
long
the oh
time.
my gosh, there is that shot of her reflection. We're outside the
Mhm.
jail. We're seeing through the window of him. And it's reflection, and we see her.
Yeah.
And then that's the shot we have when he leaves. Oh
Mhm.
my goodness. That's
There's a lot of reflection shots in
chef's
this movie.
kiss.
Yeah.
Chef's kiss. That's all you got to do. That's all you got
Mhm.
to do to have me be like, okay,
And they
this
hug
is a
for like
movie.
5 minutes.
Yeah, as you would. They've been apart.
Yeah, but it's
They
a long hug. Like it was so long, I'm starting to go,
they
okay,
they hugged for a long time,
what are we
and then they go
doing?
running, and then they go running.
Yeah.
And is
Well,
that
she
when we
pushes
get?
him and then they go running. Like the economy here is I'm so very relieved. Also, what the heck did you do? Did you
Yeah,
have drugs? Are you an idiot? And then, okay, let's run.
let's go run.
Like there's
Yeah,
so many emotions there.
that's great.
Yeah.
That's I'm there for that. Is it there we get the? I should have wrote down when, but okay, I'll say it right now. This movie features a blood, sweat, and tears needle drop. That's
Okay.
fantastic.
I
That's
can't place where it's at though.
I can't either. I should have looked it up, but it's Lisa Listen to Me, which is a
Mhm.
blood, sweat, and tears song that I did not know. But the spec a song kicked on, and I was like, "This is cool." And then I was like, "Holy crap! Is this blood, sweat, and tears?" You're doing something right, movie. That's all. That's another thing that like, oh, movie, all it needs to do is that, and I'll use it right now. I kind of want to talk about it maybe a bit later, but the
Mhm.
music in this
There's a
movie,
lot of needle drops.
there's a lot, and I'd say a lot of them are doing quite well. I just sent you a meme that
Mhm.
it kind of reflects how I feel about this. I will put it up on the screen right now. Um, but in the
That's
edit,
great.
I'll put it there. But it's
That's
that's how I
amazing.
feel because it like almost every time I was like, I'm here from the beginning of the movie all the way. Like the Lisa Listen to Me one was like kind of
Mhm.
central to the film. I'm just in, man. That works. I know it's simple. I know it can be cliche at this point, but
Mhm.
it works for this one. This is such a, like you said, I'm going to cite you as my source. This movie is such a vibe
Mhm.
before it's anything else. It's just we're here. It's the 70s. Will they,
Mhm.
won't they? In California, needle drops. That's great. That's great. I've been listening to Lisa Listen to Me a lot in the day since I've seen this movie
Nice.
because that's a fun song. I like me some Blood, Sweat, and Tears, except a lot of their music's really weird, and I don't like them as much as I feel like I should.
Yeah. Well, you can only take what you can take, but
Yeah.
yeah, there's a massive amount of needle drops. I couldn't, there's only a few that I can sync up to certain scenes, and the rest I couldn't tell you where they show up. Like I know they start playing Let Me Roll It around the point at which I want to say that's around when they get to the oil embargo because they've been selling waterbeds, Fat Bernie's waterbeds.
Yeah.
Somehow Gary also can afford a storefront in which to sell these waterbeds.
Yeah.
He gets a suit tailored for the occasion, a white suit. He has Alana walking around in a bikini to help promote the thing. Yeah, so then Fat Bernie's, she starts
Alana's
working.
around the fam during that,
Yeah,
like, because she starts being his business partner.
yeah, yeah. She's helping him sell waterbeds by being
Yeah.
very sensual on the telephone,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is a great way to sell waterbeds.
I mean, it is a way to sell water beds, that's for sure.
To quote Louise from Bob's Burgers, all I know is sex sells, so let's find some sex and sell it. Okay. That's
Yeah,
a deep cut right there.
Um, but that's so interesting. And there's around that time where I was like, wait, does like everyone know what's going on between Alana? Because it's like it's Gary and his like 15-year-old friends, and then it's Alana
And
who's
his
like,
brother, like, what is his brother's name? Like,
oh, I don't remember.
I think it's something else that starts with a G.
Yeah.
I can't remember. He has a brother and his other friends, and then her and his mom. And I'm like, this is just such a weird company that we're running right now.
Yeah. And like everybody's all in.
Hmm. And I don't know if it's at that point or a little later in the movie where we get a couple moments at the Heim house, which their last name isn't Heim in the movie. They changed it to Kane, but they use all their first names. So it's Alana and Danielle and Esty, and like it's all the same first name. And so at their house, she's always like smoking pot with Danielle, who has zero lines in the movie, by the way, which mirrors her pretty much every interaction I've ever seen with the band in interviews. Danielle never gets to say anything. But she's smoking with Danielle, and she's like, "Do you think it's weird that I hang out with Gary and his 15-year friends all the time?" And she kind of doesn't say anything, and she's like, "I think it's weird that I hang out with Gary and his 15-year friends all the
That's
time." I
that's
think
yeah,
that
they
might
have
be
these
later. I'm not
they
sure.
have that I think that is a little later in the movie, but they have this interaction. Yeah, they have a couple of these moments throughout the movie where they're both smoking. I don't know if it's implied that they're smoking pot or just smoking cigarettes.
Well, they keep
And
passing it back, and if you were smoking cigarettes, I think you would just smoke your
I
own
think they're
cigarette.
both smoking in the one. Hey, I actually have a picture of it because it was such a good shot. Not that it matters.
It's a blue hour shot, ladies and gentlemen. It's a good shot. I'm
It
pretty sure
doesn't. This isn't
they're
happening.
smoking pot. Pretty sure.
But they're and that yeah that scene's so funny because like and those scenes are so funny because the other sister doesn't talk.
Hmm.
And in that second one, yeah, it's this great. That's a great moment where
Yeah.
she is like, "Do you think it's weird?" And I think Danielle does talk in that scene
I
where
think she
she's
just
like,
kind of like, I don't even know if
"No,
she nods. She's
yeah,
just kind of like, huh.
yeah,
Or wait, Danielle does have, I take it back. She does have lines at the end, toward the end of the movie when they're at the pinball place. She does
yeah,
say some lines, but like for the most of the movie, she doesn't say anything. And Alana basically has like these therapy sessions with her while they smoke where she answers her own questions.
yeah."
That's basically the relationship. But
That's pretty great.
she's working, they're doing water beds, and then the oil embargo happens, which the oil embargo happens in like October of 73. So,
Okay,
um,
so but before that,
yeah.
Alana goes to become an actress.
Oh, was that before that?
That's before that.
Man, see, I can't keep this straight.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so
before that,
Gary hooked her up with his agent.
which his agents played. What do you know this lady's name?
Um,
The
Harriet
actress's
Sansom
name?
Harris.
Yeah, who is the agent?
Phoebe.
Yeah, is the agent from Frasier.
Yeah,
Which to see her play another agent who's basically
the same
this
character.
the same character is
She's been
incredible.
playing that character her entire life. She's like the discount oh
Don't discount her for
no, she
nothing.
is. She's the discount oh, what is her name? She was in Beetlejuice. She just died. She was always
Whoa.
playing the mom. Why can I not think of her name? Catherine O'Hara.
Oh,
She's like the discount
still,
Catherine O'Hara.
yeah,
She kind of looks like Catherine O'Hara, but instead of playing the mom, she always plays the agent.
yeah, and she's like this crazy lady,
Oh
and
yeah.
we get these like well, not extreme close-ups, but these close-ups of her face throughout that whole scene, which is
Mhm.
like the tightest we ever get on anybody. The whole movie is like
Mm.
these close-ups of her.
It's a pretty great scene.
Yeah,
She's
and
chain
then
smoking, and Gary just tells her say yes to everything. Like whatever it is, can you speak Japanese? Yes. Can you speak German? Yes. Like can you play the guitar? Yes. She's like, can you do a nude scene? She's like, yes. And Gary's like, yeah.
and it's in that acting like we get introduced to Sean Penn's character.
Is this all before the waterbeds? Wow.
Well,
See, I can't I can't
I don't think it's all before the water beds, but I think
it must be
in
around the same
it's
time.
in between because I have in my notes it goes water beds, Alana's around the fam, Jerry Frick, it's the agent, is that Francis Ford Coppola? And then like quotes from Sean Penn, a quote from Sean Penn's character,
Okay. Yeah. All right.
and
So,
then Bradley Cooper comes
right.
up
And then
later.
he comes up later. See, I can't keep this. I just saw this thing a few weeks ago and I can't keep it straight.
Yeah.
So yeah, so if you want to talk about her acting thing with
So yeah,
John
she
Penn,
meets this guy who
Jack Holden.
yeah, Jack Holden, who's like this leftover from like Golden Age
Mhm.
Hollywood,
Yep.
and who they meet doing like a test together,
Yeah.
and he invites her to dinner because this is at another point where like her and Gary are mad at each other.
Yeah.
So she's like going out with him, and he just like starts. He has someone else said this, but he has one foot in reality and the
Mhm.
other in like past scripts.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's really not clear if it's like his memories or roles he's been in. And he has a line in that scene when they're at dinner where he says, "I saw two of my best black friends beheaded in the Congo."
Mm-hmm.
It's just, and
And
she's
she's
like,
looking at him.
"Is this lines or is this real?"
I love it. That's
And then
fantastic.
he notices his buddies sitting over like on the other side, and it's Tom Waits
Yeah, Rex
playing
Blau.
playing like a director.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just,
You shiny, golden, tall, expensive. It's fantastic. And he comes over and they start like having a sword fight with forks at the table and talking about the good old days. And Gary is out with his friends, like in a booth across from them. And there's like that whole thing where you're kind of like
no,
in
direct sight
competition.
line.
Yeah, direct sight line. Or yeah, he's out with two
Table 58.
girls that are his
Yeah.
age. And so they're kind of like sticking their tongues out at each other. And then Rex Blau and Jack Holden are like, Jack's gonna recreate some stunt from some movie, and he's gonna jump a motorcycle out by the eighth
By the eighth, yeah, by the eighth
hole or
hole.
whatever on this golf course. And I'm gonna build this burning pyre that he can jump over with garbage. And the entire restaurant evacuates, and they all go out to see
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. Tom Waits' character is almost like this Raoul Duke-esque, like, I need three of these and this and that and that, and you're gonna get it for me, like type thing, which is this
It's a
eccentric
perfect role
character.
for Waits. It's perfect.
Yeah, yeah,
A
it's
little bit
great.
of Tom Waits goes a long way.
Yeah, yeah, and he's only in this movie for this scene,
Yeah,
and
that's
it's
it.
very memorable. And yeah, the entire restaurant evacuates out to see this stunt, and Alana's playing Grace Kelly's part.
Yeah.
And so
She's on Jack Holden's back
she's
on a
on Jack
motorcycle.
Holden's back on this motorcycle, and like as he goes to like fly off to do this, she like falls off the back,
Yeah.
which leads to a great running moment
Mm-hmm.
where Gary's running after her, like to make sure she's okay. As we're cutting in between him running and it kind of being like, and of the
I like that we're getting
motorcycle.
sound effects. The sound
It's
effects
great.
are
I
good.
mean, it's how to describe
Mhm.
it's how to describe what I'm talking about. So that's a great moment. And then they don't even like, that's just so interesting thing about this movie is like, then we get that moment between them two, and she's like, "Oh, I broke her Danielle's guitar,"
Mhm.
and like that's kind of it. It's
Yeah.
like this anti-climax moment where there's nothing, and then they start hanging out again.
Mhm. Well, because what always happens in this movie is she's like, Gary's too young, and I need to do something with my life. So every guy she tries to get with that's her own age or older, like she tries the whole thing with Lance, and then she goes another guy, and then she goes Jack Holden. She's like, well, maybe movie stars, maybe politics, maybe this, maybe that. And every guy is even crazier and more immature. And then there's always a moment where they're reminded that they care for each other because like Jack doesn't even realize she's not on the motorcycle anymore. She's just like
Yeah, and
furniture.
Jack makes the jump
Mhm.
and then like falls
Waits
off
out.
in the turn after. This is great.
But, the minute Gary sees her go off the bike, which is not even a thing that would hurt you all that bad. At most, you get the wind knocked out of you if you really weren't paying attention, but you didn't fall that far. But he's concerned, so he runs to her. So there's always that idea is like she tries to get out of his orbit, but then everybody around her is stupid, and he's the only one who cares, so she kind of keeps just coming back. And I guess that's the point at which we get the oil embargo. And she's like, well, what do you think waterbeds are made out
Yeah.
of? Like,
Yeah.
business is done. And then we get Bradley Cooper.
Yeah. Which I think this is what you're most excited to talk about.
I mean, I
with
like
this movie.
I like the movie in general, but if he wasn't in the movie, I don't think the movie would be nearly as interesting to me anyway.
So tell us about Bradley Cooper in these films, please, because you'll do way better the job than I.
Well, I'll keep it very brief. Bradley Cooper is playing a version which I think is probably a more realistic version than even they would want to admit, of a real producer and hairdresser who once dated Barbara Streisand named John Peters. And he looks like the dude and he sounds like the dude. And John Peters is like this coked up, like everything wrong with Hollywood kind of guy. And so the last waterbed that Gary and Alana go to deliver is at his house, except they're late because they run out of gas because of the gas embargo. And so they show up late and Bradley Cooper comes out and he immediately launches into this like weird, like he wants to talk to Gary in private, but he takes him like 5 feet away from everybody else. And then he starts like these weird veiled threats and then obvious threats. And then mixing that with like, you know who I am? Do you know who Barbara Streisand is? There's just all this weird crap. And it's one of those characters that you go, I've known people like this exactly. And they're fun people in a movie. You don't want to be around them in real life because they're exhausting. And everything's a competition, everything. Like he has to be the best. He's the strongest. He's the most handsome. He gets all the women, all of them. He tells you that, like, I get all of them. And like, I think the first thing he tells him is like, do you know who I am? Do you know who my girlfriend is? And he's like, Barbara Streisand. He's like, no, Barbara Streisand. He's like, Streisand. You know, what are you saying? Like sands, like sand, like at the beach. It's like Barbara Streisand. He goes, you screwing with me? And there's just they're both saying the same thing.
Yeah.
And then like eventually he lets that go and he's like, here's the deal, Gary. You know, you guys are late, blah, blah, blah. We go through, there's just every line of that exchange is perfect. And
Yeah.
he tries to like give them the excuse that they're late because they ran out of gas. And then he like out of left field is like, you know, how big's your penis hole? And he's like, normal size? He's like, how would you know? How would it feel if I shoved that excuse up there? He's like, probably not good. He's like, yeah, well, you know what? You're gonna do this, you're gonna do it right. There's just all these weird like
if you got a cat,
no.
You got a dog,
no. You got a brother?
You got a brother and sister?
Yeah, I'll choke your brother.
Out right in front of you if you mess this up.
I'll kill your whole family if you screw up my house. It's an amazing character. It's an amazing moment. I could go on about it forever. I'm not going to, but like I'm gonna let you talk about it.
He's pretty incredible. He's kind of just this like threatening, but again, like this is a comedy, so this is all played like really funny, like I'm gonna mess you up. Full of himself guy that like his pride is just like the funniest thing about him. And he
hits on everybody he sees. He sees Alana, he's like, is that your sister? He's like, no. Is that your girlfriend? No. He's like, and then right then he like cashed that boy for later. He's like, all right, I'm gonna have to come back to this because I gotta go on this date. But you know, and he's got like a gay assistant who's just holding nunchucks or something, like these big sticks.
Yeah,
that's a whole thing.
He's got this gay assistant who then is like later on the phone with Barbara Streisand, who's like spinning around and whirling like, while he's on the like, hey Barbara.
Yeah, so like he threatens him real good not to mess up his house. And inexplicably, Gary, they're filling up the waterbed and he's just like pulls the hose out and they decide we're just gonna flood his house because he's a jerk. Which I don't know why you think you're gonna get away with that. Bless you.
Thank you.
I don't know why they think they're gonna get away with that. Like I get that your company is closing, but also like he knows the address of the company, so I don't know why you would do this. But they do. And then they go to leave. And they're like halfway down the hill or whatever later, and then there he is, walking up the hill.
Yeah. And you're like, oh crap. And then he like, that's when he gets in the car and like takes a breath in and just like collects himself.
Because he ran out of gas on the way to pick up Barbara Streisand.
Yeah.
So he makes him go back up the hill. Or no, he makes him go down to get gas.
Yeah.
And Alana has to like squeeze past his car. He starts hitting on her. And then while they're doing that,
tries to like help her by like taking the steering wheel, reaching over. They're in the front of this like flatbed truck. I guess it wouldn't be a flatbed, whatever, to pickup truck. And he like reaches over Gary to help Alana on the wheel and is just like all over everybody,
like smelling her.
Yeah.
And then he gets to the gas station, immediately goes into a rage and like starts attacking people at the gas
throws
station.
His gas can at a guy, lights a lighter and like holds it by the pump and is like, this pump is mine. This pump is mine.
What did he say? Something territory. He like jumps up on something. He's like, it's something territory, and then like jumps back down, starts immediately assaulting people, and they like Gary and Alana like drive away. They're like, we're just gonna leave him here at the gas station. They go back and bust his windshield, which again is
Yeah.
kind of like, I don't know what we're doing. And then they run out of gas
Yeah, and then they coast downhill
backwards.
backwards,
Hmm.
which is cool,
It just goes on for a long time.
but that scene goes on forever.
It's one of the longest scenes of the movie.
Yeah. And then it's in the aftermath of that that Alana's sitting on the side of the road and she's by a sign that's higher or not higher, elect mayor. What is it?
Wax.
Wa-
Joel
wax?
Wax.
Wax. And she's like, oh, yeah, I know a guy who works there. And then John Peters walks by one more time and like just inexplicably like throws a garbage can through a storefront and then goes traipsing down the road towards Alana and Gary and all his friends. And but some ladies go walking the other way. And so then he walks by and,
About face. He's like, hey, you like peanut butter sandwiches? Like,
yeah,
what?
which is apparently is the real pickup line
Yeah.
John Peters would use. So
Yeah. He insisted if you're gonna have a guy play me, have him use my pickup line.
yeah, which is just
Okay.
which there is a moment of connection earlier between Gary and John Peters where he's like, yeah, we have that connection because we're from the streets. Like he's a hustler, which is like something the real John Peters would kind of say. Famously, he said it to Kevin Smith
Yeah.
when they were writing their Superman movie that never got made. He said, yeah, you and me get Superman because we're from the streets.
We're from the streets.
Like, you know why we both get Superman? Because we're from the
From the
streets.
streets. I'm telling you, it's those kind of guys. My dad used to tell a story about a dude who sounded just like John Peters in the 70s. I think they called him Intense Bob. And he was just, I'm dead serious. He was really intense. One time they were all sitting around toking. They were all smoking marijuana and they're passing around. And I think my uncle, this of course is the 70s. This is like 73, 72, 73. They're teenagers. This is a long time ago, guys. My parents are older hippies. And I think it was my uncle went to take a puff and Bob like snatches it out of his hand. He's like, that's not how you do it. And then proceeds to like in one drag demolish the entire joint and just be like, and then held it in so long that he passed out and then woke up. A cloud of smoke comes out of his lungs and he's like, that's how you do it. Like he was intense about everything. And that's like John Peters is like one of those guys just like all the time. Like it's just 110%. I get all the women. I do all the violence.
It's going to kill me.
It's going to kill me one day. I do all the cocaine. Like it's amazing. And it's, yeah, he's from the streets.
Yeah.
So
he's a hustler.
he's a hustler. He just hustles to get what he wants all the time. So yeah. And then it's at that moment, Alana's like, what am I doing with my life? Like,
And then they get in a big fight.
yeah,
which
which is
is
great, by the way. That's a great fight.
Like them in the at the kitchen table.
And she's
Where
like,
it's-
I'm cooler than you. He's like, no, you're
Yeah, you're old.
yeah, old lady. And she's like, what? He's like, I said milady, which is a
Yeah.
great attempt at a save. And then she like dares him to smoke a pack of cigarettes without coughing, and he does. And then he like goes and drives away. I think it's her car. I'm not even 100% sure
Yeah.
whose car it is, but like, yeah, there's a big fight. And then she decides
And
she's
in
gonna-
that fight, I think in that fight, she has the line, "You're talking about pinball machines. I'm a politician."
yes,
Which
yeah,
I
he just volunteered for the campaign like
given
yesterday.
given my work
Mm-hmm.
place, you're talking about pinball machines. I'm a politician. Might be a line I drop at least once a week.
Which is amazing because you work at a pinball place.
Yeah, I work at a pinball place. If you guys don't know, so this is really getting Santino going. But I really can't wait for like a high intensity moment where then because I work with a bunch
Because
of
you worked on a
guys my
campaign.
age.
You worked on a
I
campaign.
am a politician.
You're a
So
politician.
next time there's like a moment of tension and I need to pull rank, I'll go, you're talking about pinball machines. I'm a politician.
I'm gonna save the world, and you're making. Also, it's great because it's not even real pinball machines where you work. It's digital pinball,
Yeah.
which is an amazing like. I don't even know where to go at this
Yeah.
point with that. It's fantastic. So yeah, well, and for the folks playing along at home, the reason he's talking about pinball machines is because in June of '74, pinball was the pinball ban was lifted in California specifically. Apparently, pinball was considered gambling for the longest time, and so it was banned across most, if not all, of North America. And California was one of the first, if not the first, to lift the ban. And it wasn't fully like across North America. I don't think the ban was fully lifted until like late 70s. So California was one of the first to lift the ban. And so Gary's like, oh, pinball machines are legal now? I got this
And he gets
storefront.
that inside from
Mhm.
helping with something for the political
Right.
campaign.
Yeah, he did the
And so it's kind of
videos.
like insider trading
Mhm.
information,
Yeah, he can be the first place.
prompting the fight between him and Alana.
Fat Bernie's pinball, which I
Yeah.
don't know who the heck Fat Bernie is, but it's just like a name he uses all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's kind of what partially prompts the fight and ego of like, I'm better than you because I'm a politician. I'm better than you. Like you'd still be, I think he tells her you'd still be taking photographs of children if it weren't for me. Which
Yeah.
is true. Um, so yeah, so then they fight and there's this big falling out and he does his pinball thing and she starts working for the campaign. And there's like two potential love interests there for her. The guy who's like the campaign manager, but then also the guy running for mayor, who's played
Hmm.
by, I think, Josh Safdie, who's also a director. Um, and then it looks like that might work out. And she gets a call from him late at night to like meet him at a restaurant, and she thinks it's a date, but it's not. He's gay and he just wants her to be his beard for the night so he doesn't get caught and there's not a
Yeah.
scandal. And we're intercutting between that and the grand opening of the Pinball Palace. And like Danielle and Esty are there and they're playing pinball. And they're like, Gary, you should go find Alana. Like, go talk to her.
Yeah. Which I think is great. Like that the sisters seem to be like on his side,
Yeah.
which is just like it's that movie. The movie doesn't really give us any hints of that till that moment where they're like, you should go.
Yeah. Well, they liked
And
her.
she, yeah, and they even prompt her to
Mhm.
go to the pinball thing. Like, come on.
Yeah. Well, I think by that point, because again, the passage of time here has to be at least a year. By that point, he's been around, they've been around each other enough, like, and I think they know their sister well enough to kind of go, I don't really think you've been doing this game and you haven't found anything better. And like, you like Gary, he likes you. He's going places, like he has businesses and you kind of don't know what you're doing. So like, why not? Kind
Yeah.
of, I think is the general consensus. So then he runs to find her, and she has to drop off the mayor's boyfriend at his house. And they kind of commiserate over like the men in their lives, which is kind of funny. And I
Yeah.
think it's at that moment she just decides, like, I guess being an adult isn't really like a thing that I thought it was. So I'm just going to go find Gary. And they're running and they're running and they're running some more and
And
they're
they're
running
running
some
past
more.
each other. And then we intercut with, well, then they see each other down the street.
Yeah.
And then we intercut with them running throughout the movie.
That moment works well.
That movie works really well.
Yeah.
And then he brings her to
Well, they
the
crash
pin.
into each other, yeah. And
Yeah,
then
they
he brings
fall
her,
down.
right. And he brings her into the pinball place. And I think, do they kiss and
He's
then he announces
well,
her as, or the announcement happens first.
I think they kiss once they get up or something. Which is like they finally. No, you're right. You're right. I think what happens is
I think he announces.
he announces her as his wife.
Basically,
He's
Miss
like
Alana
Mrs.
Valentine.
Yeah, Mrs. Alana Valentine, and she's like, "You idiot!"
Mm.
And then I think they smooch,
Yeah, I think they kiss once he comes down off of the
which
thing.
is so
And then they
interesting.
run some more.
Yeah, which is so interesting because this movie, you don't like there. In that moment you realize like, oh my gosh, we've done this whole like, will they, won't they thing
Mhm.
without that,
Right.
like at all.
Yeah, that's the first time they've kissed.
Yeah,
Since meeting, that's the first time they've kissed. And then that's the end of the movie. And then we
Mhm.
get Taj Mahal, Tomorrow May Not Be Your Day, which is a great song to end on. And that's it. That's the whole thing.
and then we have the closing credits feature shots of the cast,
Yeah.
which you got my live reaction to that.
Yeah, you didn't know that was coming. Yeah.
And because I sent Santino a video of the end credits and then me going, I think it's funny that you make me watch movies like this and I make you watch Godzilla.
Yeah. Yeah. That's effectively the sacred and the profane next to each other. It's this idea of like cinema and then like schlocky monster movies and Star Wars, and then it's like cinema, and we're like, how about this blockbuster from like 2019? Cinema. How about this Marvel movie? Like
That's the
that's
show.
the economy of the show. So,
That's the
so yeah,
show.
that's the story in a nutshell. There's really not much more to it than that, honestly.
Yeah,
I
I
think
don't
it's
really know what
basically
else
it.
to say. We
Yeah,
kind of covered it.
we covered it.
I mean, there's closing thoughts,
Right.
but
So if
from
you
the
want to
movie,
launch into like your thoughts, thematics, like whatever you want to handle, man, do you swing wild, Daddy-O.
well, I think what's funny
Swing like a meat
about
hook.
so what?
I said swing like a meat hook.
Swing like a meat hook.
It's a
Okay,
Space
so
Ghost thing. You wouldn't get it.
I wouldn't. You're right.
No.
So I liked this movie.
Mhm.
I think part of why I like this movie is I feel like, in a weird way, I can relate to both characters.
I think
Uh,
everybody can.
and that's part of like what makes this movie work is you can
Mhm.
relate to the kid and you can relate to the 20 something who's like, what the heck am I doing with my life?
Right.
So that's fun. I like that. I think that works. I think this movie, like I said, I think it's shot really well. And I mean, all you're kind of doing is 70s California on film. That's kind of all you need to do.
Yeah. But
I
I
think it
mean, when
works.
I looked at it and when I knew I was going to recommend this to you, I was like, I feel like Andy's going to like the way this looks, if nothing else.
Yeah. Like
It's not the typical like cinematography I throw your way, but if I think of Andy cinematography, this is in the top three.
this is really like Andy cinematography.
Yeah.
Like there's literally that like almost throwaway shot of like of Alana and Danielle like
Mhm.
sitting and smoking in the baseball diamond. And
Mhm.
I think one of those shots is like one of the coolest shots I've ever seen. I think the like hot dog stand shot, anytime
That's
there's
a
like
great shot.
sunset, like
Mhm.
those shots are all great. I think this movie is just shot really well and like handled really well, like the way it feels. I also think to kind of quote Roger Deakins as I do tangentially on a weekly basis, it serves the story as
Yes.
part of why it works. Is it is 70s California. So you kind of can't throw this visual style at everything. But this kind of will they, won't they personal drama, it works
Mhm.
for.
It's very bright, it's very colorful. It's a happy looking film. And what you'll notice if we get into more PTA movies is that he doesn't do the typical, or he doesn't get the typical anamorphic flares you normally see, like the real hard ones. It's more of like this wash of blue that kind of just goes over things. And you see it especially in the scene with Harriet Sanson Harris with the agent, because
Yeah.
she's sitting in front of a window. And so there's just this kind of streak, this big washed out area of kind of bluish white. And that's just kind of how it goes. So,
Yep. Um, this movie is long.
yes.
I'm sure on rewatching it'll feel longer,
Mhm.
but I liked it. I don't know. There's also feels long that, and I think the part of what's fun about this show is it forces you to like watch the whole thing in one go. But I
Mhm.
was never tempted to jump ship, and I felt that way. There's movies that I really like that took me more than one shot to go through. So, but I think this movie's long. Again, you kind of have to buy in, but once
Yeah.
you do, I think you're met with a good time.
Mhm.
And it doesn't have to be that much. It doesn't have to necessarily have this big robust meeting. It can just kind of be these vignettes. It can just be these stories. That's all I need. That's all I want. So I don't know
Yeah.
what your thoughts are. You've you have the more critical eye having seen this movie and more than once and spent more time with it.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I just, if I had to give it the only problem, and I think I pretty much already alluded to this, is that for me, the only problem with this movie is it's just too darn long. It's 2 hours and 13 minutes. It has no business being 2 hours and 13 minutes. You could have cut a half hour, 20 minutes ish out of the movie. If the movie was an hour and 40 to an hour and 45, I think it would be almost a perfect length at that point. I really wouldn't have any critiques beyond that because there are just so many scenes, even good scenes, that play out just a minute or two too long, and that adds up. You
yeah,
start to feel that length. And when you have a movie that's either like Fear and Loathing, where it's just constant craziness for over 2 hours, that's exhausting. And if you have a movie like this, where there's really no plot and it's just a bunch of disconnected vignettes for 2 hours, it's not as exhausting, but you just kind of go, okay, you can feel the time pass. And like I said, there are moments where we just hold on things for a very long time, and we don't need to. There's scenes of running where we could have trimmed 30 seconds out of it. There's, some of the stuff with Bradley Cooper after he's no longer in it, where we're just going backwards down a hill, where we could have cut a minute or two out of that. And I think if you just did those trims across the movie, you'd end up with an hour and 40, and it would be tight and it would be fine. And I could say that there's not a problem with the movie. But as it stands, it feels, knowing the way Paul Thomas Anderson works, it feels self-indulgent and it feels like he didn't have anyone to rein him in on this one because he does this a lot, by the way. He likes to just hold on things. And in most other movies of his where they're more plot driven, you don't, for me personally, I don't feel as put out by that. But in a movie that isn't as plot heavy, and then you're just holding on stuff,
Yeah.
it just kind of, it doesn't ruin it, but what it does is in my memory, I can rate this movie higher because those moments get condensed and I only remember the
Yeah.
highlights. Whereas when you're actually watching it, you kind of go, okay, I'm feeling dead air here. And so it's not detrimental, but it's not good. And I feel like if he would have just trimmed a little more, just one more pass on it, even 20 minutes out of it, like we'd have been in a real good spot.
Well, and I don't know, like I think to almost defend, I'm not defending the runtime issue, but
Mhm.
I want to like tweak something you said.
Sure.
These aren't necessarily, air quotes here, disconnected vignettes. I think people can be like, well, what's up with all this stuff, random stuff? It's very like as kind of, this movie has a loose grip on reality, but that's a
Mhm.
very like realistic thing. It is just like you kind of live with these characters for, and granted, it's kind of random. The random dials turned up because it's acting and then it's water beds and
Mhm.
then it's getting arrested by the police. Like it's a very random movie, but it's
Mhm.
very true to life where it is kind of like, well, how did we end up here?
Right.
Like, how did we, like, what is going on? But
Yeah, and
it's,
I don't take issue with that element of it. I just think that, for that much dead air, it could have been trimmed. That's my big complaint.
yeah,
But again, it doesn't ruin the movie though. It
absolutely.
just it just makes it you just feel it. You just feel the time. That's all. And it's like I personally trim a bit and it would have been great. But otherwise, I love the cinematography and I love the vibe of the movie. I like the needle drops. I think the casting was really good. I would have never thought you could get performances like that out of all pretty much first-time actors, because Cooper Hoffman had never done anything prior to this. Even though his father's a fantastic actor, he's never really done anything before.
Yeah.
And Alana and the family, they're performers. So anytime, musicians usually make decent actors, but to carry a whole movie on effectively an untested performer is a big risk, and I think she does it really well. And there's a naturalism that comes across from that. Not to mention, Paul Thomas Anderson is such a fan of improv. Im Can I speak and not say like, can I just like make sense? Improv.
There we go.
For some reason, I kept wanting to go improvisation like that, and it wasn't working. He's a big fan of improv. And so if you read a script of his, you'll notice that a lot of scenes bear very little resemblance to the end product. And so in this movie, there was a lot of stuff where he was just kind of like, you guys are just going to kind of talk. And that's also why, like, when I think there's a moment when John Peters is like with them in the truck and he's like hitting on her and he asks her like all these rapid fire questions and he's like, what's your sign? How old are you? And she goes 28 and then she goes 25. Well, her actual age when they filmed this was 28 and she just kind of just answered truthfully, but they left it in the movie.
Yeah,
So it's kind of like,
that's
well, now
interesting.
we don't know what's going on, but yeah, it's a very improv based film, like most of his films. So, that adds to duration of scenes because there is no real in or out point. Um, most of her family interactions are improvised, but it feels very natural and it feels correct in the moment. I just think Paul Thomas Anderson has a knack for finding interesting faces. No one in this movie looks like an actor.
Yeah.
Not a single person. Like the
Yeah,
the
it's a very,
only
Alana Haim in this film specifically.
Mhm.
reminded me of one of my English teachers from high school,
Really?
which was very funny to put that together. It was like about it's when they're on their first date. I went, she reminds me a lot of my one English teacher. And
Hmm.
so for the rest of for the rest of watching the movie, it was kind of like the time traveling adventures of
Yeah.
my English teacher.
Hmm. Yeah, she's not a traditional like, she's not the femme fatale. She's not the manic pixie dream girl. She just looks like a real person. And Gary looks like a real person. And no one in the movie looks like an actor. They just look, aside from, Sean Penn at this point is so old and kind of craggy that even he doesn't really look like an actor. He just kind of looks like,
And his character is an actor.
Mhm.
So like if
But he
he
kind of
kind of
looks like
looks
one of the,
Hollywood, he
yeah, like
looks
old Hollywood.
Hollywood.
Hmm.
It's kind of what he's supposed to.
Right. And Tom Waits never looks like anything other than this just a weird dude that you found in a bar. So like that works.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody has a not Hollywood face. It's a very interesting movie. I don't think they put much makeup on anybody. It doesn't seem like it. So it's kind of just what you see is what you get. And
Yeah.
you'll go through areas where like the light's really harsh and you're like, wow, they aren't doing the actors any favors. And then you'll go into other scenes where it's like, wow, the light is really flattering. And it's just kind of like, that's just Paul
Yeah.
Thomas Anderson, man. He just kind of goes, let's just shoot it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, those are basically my thoughts. So I don't know what else you wanted to.
I don't know if I have much else to say besides I really liked it. And you want to get into ratings?
Sure. What do you want to rate this?
I think my rating on this film is a 7, which is
Wow.
high. But
Wow.
like I think the way we've been laying things out,
Hmm.
I think that's what it is. It's kind of hard to be objective about this film
Hmm.
because I liked it a good deal and it feels so much like this. I don't know, this captures something so well that I'm
Hmm.
awarding it that 7,
Yeah.
that it's like this has got something
Hmm.
that captures a feeling of adolescence really well. So,
That's
and it's
higher than I thought you would give it. Honestly,
I
I'm
mean,
I'm impressed.
it's not on the same level as like 6.5 to 7 films. I think it's
Right.
better. I think
That's
you do something
impressive.
better. Because I think, I mean, and this is where we get into something interesting. I mean, we can touch on it for like 2 seconds, but I think it's easier to do giant lizard films and space operas than
Right.
it is to do a personal will they won't they
Right.
vibe piece movie. Like it's way harder to do this than it
Hmm.
is to do, and that's kind of what's so rewarding about the giant lizard films when people actually put in the work is,
Hmm.
well, it's not hard to do this to begin with. The bar is set low, so when you
Right.
put in the extra effort, it stands out. But when you're doing movies about people with people, that's just harder. Even though you might think the opposite, because there's not a million VFX shots or what have
Mhm.
you, what the average person might think. But
That was
that's what I got.
super pretentious right there.
That's yeah.
I'm gonna
That's
let it ride.
I was
I'm gonna
kind
let
of
it
I
ride.
was kind of channeling my inner oh shoot, what's their name from Gilligan's Island, the rich couple.
Really?
That's kind of what I was
Wow.
going for.
Okay. That's crazy. Well, you see, this is funny because my early prediction prior to when you sent me that video last night was that you were going to be fair on it. And then when you sent me the video, I thought, oh, I feel like he likes it a little more than I thought he would. And then you sent me the screenshot from this morning or
Yeah.
this afternoon at work. And I was like, if he's rewatching any part of this movie, then he loved it. And I'm like, wow, you know what? And I think I told my dad this earlier. I was like, I'll bet Andy is going to end up coming out liking this movie more than I did. Like, I feel like that's actually where we're
I
going to be.
might. I might.
I think you
Where's
do.
your rating at?
Well, so I gave this a lot of thought today because I almost have to do like a thing like we did with Malignant, where it's like objective, subjective, because I can't quite figure it. Like, you know how I always say that the biggest crime a movie can commit is to be boring. And this movie, for many moments, teeters precariously close to why am I watching this? Not long enough for me to be actually bored, but long enough for me to go, we need to cut to something. And then it finally mercifully does. And then it's interesting, but there's a lot of those moments. And so I liked the movie more the second time I watched it, but I also felt the length more the second time I watched it. And it's one of those movies where when it's good, it's really good. Oh, what you think of this? Like that, it's great. I've been quoting
Yeah.
that for years. There are amazing moments, John Peters, all of it. It's great. But then when it's not as good, it's very high and very low. There's no in
Hmm.
between. And so it makes it very hard to rate. So here's what I'm getting at. Subjectively, what I remember in my mind, the highlights of this movie, it's a 7. I would agree with you. And it's unlike any other romantic comedy that's ever been made because it doesn't do the honeymoon thing and it gives you the characters in a position where they literally can't be together. And it's very interesting. It's very human and it's just very different and it's refreshing. And it is cool to see a coming of age movie that isn't just super bad where it's all about sex or all about, getting drunk or whatever. Like it's literally more about the human connection, not to be too deep. On the other hand, those moments where we just look at stuff for a long time, I really feel it and I don't like that at all and it rubs me the wrong way. And a lot of things about Paul Thomas Anderson's filmmaking rub me the wrong way and a lot of things I like. So objectively, I would want to give it like a low 6 something, like a 6.3 because it drags in a lot of places. So I think I'm going to have to average it out.
What's super funny about the way you described that is that
Mhm.
your defense of your objective rating was equally as subjective.
Well, no,
because
maybe
because you're talking, and I'm like messing with you
right,
here,
fair
but
enough.
it was like my subjective is here's all the things I liked about it,
Mhm.
and then the objective is here's all the things I disliked about it.
Okay, well, let
It's
me let
like
me be truly objective. Objectively, it's too long and it needed a trim. That's
yeah,
objective. That's not just taste. It
yeah,
has no business being 2 hours and 13 minutes. If it was an hour and 50, that would be great. If it was an hour and 45, it'd be even better. Everyone will tell you trim the fat on any movie. This is just basic rule. So objectively, regardless of my taste, it's too long. So I think I'm gonna have to go in the middle and like get an average because I can't in good conscience give it a 7, even though my memory of it is a 7. And I can't in good conscience give it a low 6. So I think it would be like a 6.7. It's maybe even a 6.8 if I want to be generous because it is such a good movie when it's good, and it is such a new kind of fresh thing that we don't get to see, but it really needs a trim. So 6.8. I'll give it 6.8, and that's me being a little bit salty, but also a little bit generous. It's just right there. It's right on the
yeah.
edge. It's
It's right down the
almost,
middle.
yeah, it's almost modern classic territory. And I think in everyone's memory, it's going to be modern classic territory. But when you actually sit down and watch it, you do feel the length. So
Yeah,
6.8 if I want to be salty.
yeah, that's fair. I think this movie doesn't have my heart,
I feel like it's close-ish
but
though.
it's so close.
Right.
Visually, it does, which is a category we've granted
Hmm.
before. Visually, it does, and it's so close, but I just don't quite think it does, which is which is okay because it's not quite the like quote machine. I have already like told some people to watch this movie.
Hmm.
It's definitely like super interesting, and I like it a lot, and I definitely want to rewatch it. But I don't think it has my heart.
No. Yeah, it doesn't have mine, but it does, like you said, visually, I do love it. And I do love the vibe. And subjectively, it is a much higher rating just because of what I remember of it. And I mean, Jerry Frick is kind of worth
Jerry,
the price of admission.
Jerry Frick, John Peterson, it's all great.
Yeah.
It's so great. Well, that was this week's show.
Yes.
I have to pee really bad. So
Okay.
Santino's going to take us out this week, and I'm just going to go
There we go.
and I'm gonna find out what he says in the edit. I'll
I
be
love
back.
this. Okay, guys, that was the end of the episode. I'm assuming Andy took his earbuds out. If he didn't, then this will be really funny. So if you like what you see, if you like what we do, all 2.5 of you who listen to the show, give us a like, a comment, a subscribe, all that other jazz. And stay tuned next week when we do, I don't know, some random schlock that I'm sure Andy has lined up for me that isn't going to hold a candle to the immaculate cinema that I've been giving him. But, such is life. That's the name of the game on the show. So, Uh, that's all I got. I don't know. I think we're out. I think we're done. I think we're out of tape. Cool. Love you. Bye.